Hello, dear students. Today I am here with the first chapter of Geography of Class 10, that is Resources and Development. This chapter is available in 4 parts. This is the first part of Chapter 1 of Class 10 Geography, that is Resources and Development. Now, resources and development. First of all, let us know that what are resources. So, everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, means technologically we can use it, economically feasible, means we can afford it, and culturally acceptable, means it should be acceptable to the society, can be termed as a resource. Even a teacher is also a resource. Yes, students are also a resource, but a future resource which can be used in the future. A doctor is also a resource. So everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, it should be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as a resource. Now, if you look at the second term, that is development. So it can be defined, it is actually development of resource. Human beings transform materials available in our environment. Human beings transform material available in our environment into resources and use them. That is called a resource. That is called development of resource. Now, let us see that what is the relationship, the interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institutions. Human beings interact with nature through technology, yes, with the help of technology, and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. Dams, with the help of technology, we interacted with water, river, and we made an institution to accelerate our economic development. So this is how the human being interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institutions. Now, classification of resources. Resources are of 2 types. One is natural and another one is your human. First of all, let us see natural. Natural resources are of 2 types, renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources, one is biological, another one is continuous, that is wind and water. Biological resources are of 2 types in nature. One is natural vegetation, that is forest, and another one is your wildlife. If we talk about non-renewable resources, it is also of 2 types. One is recyclable, like metals. Another one is non-recyclable. Example, fossil fuels. If we talk about human resources, we talk about structures and institutions. And the second part is your quantity and quality. So this is all about the classification of resources. Now, resources can be classified on the basis of origin. On the basis of origin. It is classified into biotic and abiotic resources. Biotic resources obtained from biosphere have life. Example is human being, flora, that is plant, fauna, that are animals, fisheries, livestock, cow, buffalo, goat, like that, etc. Means all these are living things. Abiotic resources, it composed of non-living things. Example, rock and metals. Here you can see easily with the help of the picture, living things and non-living things. Living things, they fall under biotic, and non-living things, they fall under abiotic. This is all about on the basis of origin. Now, if we talk about on the basis of exhaustibility, here we can classify resources into two parts. One is renewable, another one is non-renewable. If we talk about renewable sources of energy, renewable resources whose quantity is not reduced due to use and which can be repeatedly used without fear of exhaustion. It can be reproduced, it can be renewed. It is also called replenishable resource. They can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical process. It is continuous and flow resources in nature. Example, wind and water. On the basis of exhaustibility, second part is your non-renewable resources. These substances are those whose stock get reduced and are gradually exhausted with use, are termed as non-renewable. They are formed over a substantially long geological time. Example are minerals, fossil fuels. They can be subdivided into recyclable or non-recyclable. As I told you earlier, recyclable resources are those which are metals. Non-recyclable resources, example, they cannot be recycled, those are fossil fuels. They cannot be recycled and they get exhausted with their use. So on the basis of exhaustibility, renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Now, on the basis of ownership, who owns is your individual, community owned, national and international. On the basis of ownership, 4 types of resources are there. The first one is your individual. If we talk about individual resources, these resources are owned privately by individuals. Example you can give: plots, house, car, wells, land owned by farmers, plantation, pasture land, ponds. These are owned by individuals. Plot, houses and other property which are owned by people in the city, the house in which you live, the vehicle which you use, these all fall under individual resources because because an individual owns it. Now, if we talk about community resources, this is accessible to all the members of the community. Means community can use it. Example, public parks, picnic spots, playgrounds, stadium are some of the examples. Burial grounds also, grazing grounds, village pond are some of the example of community resources. In short, these resources are accessible to all the members of a community. Now, if we talk about national resources, Technically, all the resources available in the country are national resources. For example, forest, wildlife, and political territories, means political boundaries, territorial water and the resources within it. Now the question is, what is territorial water? The term territorial water refers to the oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles, that is 19.2 kilometers from the coast. The country has a legal power to acquire even private property for public good, but it should be within the area of 19.2 kilometers from the coast. Now let us talk about international resources. The oceanic resources which are beyond 2 kilometers of the exclusive economic zone belong to the international resources, international institutions beyond 200 kilometers. And I should tell you that India had obtained the right to mine manganese nodules from the bed of the Indian Ocean from an area which lies beyond the exclusive economic zone. All what you need to do is you have to take permission from the international institutions to use those resources. This is what you call is international resources. You can see some of the figures over here of individual, community owned, national and international resources. Now let us have a look on the basis of development. Resources on the basis of development. First one is your potential resource. The resources which are found in a region but have not been yet utilized are called potential resources. Some of the examples: wind and solar energy development in the states of Gujarat and Rajasthan is there. All of us know this, but we have not been utilizing that till now to its full potential. Second is your developed resources. Resources which are surveyed and their quality, quantity has been determined for utilization. They are called developed resources. But the development of resource depend on technology and level of their feasibility. Feasibility means it is affordable or not. Price, in short we can say. Everything is determined. It has been surveyed qualitatively also and quantitatively also. Means quality is also there and quantity is also there, but development of these resources depend on technology and level of their feasibility, that is affordability. Next one is your stock. With the resources which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but they do not have appropriate technology to assess them. Likewise, we are very much aware of water. Water is a compound of two inflammable gases, hydrogen and oxygen. But can you produce it? The answer is no. Why? If I ask why? Because we are not having that technical know-how. We are not having that technology that we can produce H2O. Hence, it can be considered as a stock. Now, the next one is your reserves. Resources can be put into use with the help of technical know-how, but their use had not been started yet Means we are having the resource also, we are having technology also, but we have not yet started. Why? This can, so that it can be used for meeting future requirements. It has been kept for future use. That's why these are called reserves, like the reserves which you keep at your home. For example, river water can be used for generating hydroelectric power, but presently it is being utilized only to a limited extent so that we can keep it for the future requirement. Thus, the water in dams is a reserve which can be used in the future. Now, these were some of the classifications. Now, some problem has arisen in these years, in these past years, and this is created by indiscriminate use of resources by man. Means we exploit resources more than our requirement. Many resources get depleted. For example, forest. Forest is the best example for that. Resources got accumulated in the hands of few people, and it has divided society into rich and poor. Global warming and ozone layer depletion are some of the examples of environmental degradation. So these are some of the problems created by indiscriminate use of resources by men. Now, how to overcome with these problems? The only thing which can help us is sustainable development. Now, what is sustainable development? The economic development which does not damage the environment, at the same time takes care of the needs of the future generation, is called sustainable development. Many of the times you might have seen in the advertisement, switch off lights and fan when not in use. Use public transport. When red light signal is there, you should switch off your vehicle. Why? So that particular resource can be utilized by the future. Just imagine that your grandson or your grand-grandson is going to a restaurant with bicycle just because you have exploited the resources, you have exhausted the resources and no other alternatives there. So the need of the hour is sustainable development, to use the resources without damaging the environment and at the same time taking care of the needs of the future generation, and this is what you call is sustainable development. Low carbon growth, resource efficiency and social inclusivity. Social inclusivity means inclusivity means it means that a social moral responsibility, it doesn't depend on a single person. It is the responsibility of the society, all the people. In the next part, we'll study about development of resources and need for sustainable development. That's all for today, students. Have a nice day.